Hello, brothers and sisters. Thank you for joining me again today. Hey, today I want to talk about Jimmy Kimmel getting fired. Why did he get fired? I'll give you my opinion. This one has sparked a little controversy for sure, with everyone going crazy about he's got his free speech, and then why didn't people get fired for other stuff? And so all the what-isms have been flying around, and I'll tell you my comments about it. Yesterday I did 2 videos on this already, so go back and watch them if you're interested, but one of them is a little bit about, hey, the platforms are hiding this from us, and then why I think it was wrong for Kimmel to do it. And one was just kind of, I did a funny Ricky Gervais clip of Kimmel when he was saying that we all know it was a MAGA guy, right? That generated a few comments, and I really do like looking at my comments, so thank you. 2 individuals who I thought posted, good comments to make me think. And I've thought about him a little bit, and I think I want to address him in this video, but I'm going to do it at the end. I'll show you the comments now. At the end, I'll go over them because I think the comments are actually immaterial to why he got fired. They are very important in the context of just what's going on since Charlie Kirk was killed. I don't think they're really related to him getting fired. So here were the comments. I believe I made the claim that Kimmel was kind of spouting misinformation, and one of my commenters said, "Where's the misinformation?" Okay, so on that, I'll come back to it. I would say, send me stories that kind of back up that what Kimmel was saying was accurate. Send it to me. I'll look at it, and if it's worth doing a story on, I'll do it. I promise you. If I can get some good information, that's good content, I'll do it. So where is the misinformation? Follow up that the whole Trump government is blaming the left without any proof of evidence. Now he's making Antifa a terrorist organization because they think and want this to be related to Antifa. It totally isn't. The whole engraved bullets is making everyone crazy because no one understands it and tries to decipher it. Even with all the evidence at the moment, there's still no clear motive for both sides instead of waiting for a trial to find out about the motive. The Trump government is trying everything to make conservative far right the good guys. Don't know how this can't be seen. Freedom of speech ain't happening in your country anymore. So I guess this guy isn't American. He's probably British. So thank you for that comment. I'll try to address it. I'll do this video, and then at the end, I'll come back to it, and hopefully I can address this. I have also made a video that's out there that talks about what is the actual evidence that's been released. So I would suggest go watch those. And then I had a third comment, and I think this was the best one of the lot. So whoever sent this one, thank you for this. He actually, or she actually tried to give an example. I love examples. I do it all the time in my videos, and when I'm talking to people, I love analogies. So this person said, for anyone objecting to the joke from Kimmel, try answering this question. Billy says, Susie is desperately trying to characterize this hot dog as anything other than a hot dog. Does Billy think a hot dog is a sandwich? Yes, no, or we have insufficient information. The only answer is C, which is what Kimmel said is 100% defensible. He was not attempting to characterize Kirk, not Kirk's assassin. He was only attempting to describe the MAGA gang, and it was a fair characterization. Also, where was your outrage when your side was outright blaming the left for the shooter's actions because of no information at all? I think this is a great comment. So again, thank you. This is exactly how I think. I kind of use the scientific method. I learned that in grade school. I don't know if they even teach it anymore, but basically I come up with a theory or a hypothesis, right? Then I try to think of what facts do I need to prove or disprove that hypothesis. And then I go look for those facts. Based on those facts, do I have sufficient evidence to disprove my theory? Because I can't really prove it. I can only disprove it, really. So do I have enough right now to disprove? And then if I can't, then I think that my theory is correct. And if I can disprove it, then my theory is wrong and I need a new theory. That's how I think. So this is perfect. And I'll try to get to this at the end. And I do agree we have insufficient information. I 100% agree with that. But I'm making conclusions based on the information I have. What is my confidence level in what's going on based on the information I have? And my experiences and biases. Everyone's got experiences and biases. It's how it is. But I do very much try to look at the evidence. And so that's why I showed the evidence in an earlier video. Here's what's been said so far. Now, based on these fact. So that's my introduction. So thank you guys. I know that was long. What I'm going to try to do now is talk about why Jimmy Kimmel was fired. And I'll tell you my conclusion right up front. And at the very end, we're going to watch Jimmy Kimmel because I'm told it's just jokes. Why are we upset about jokes? And I'm told that we have insufficient information. And he was, we see here, he was only attempting to describe the MAGA gang, and it was a fair characterization. All right, so let's watch it and see if that's true. Because what I don't like is people a lot of times will just make statements, and if you're in the group that trusts the experts, you just believe it, and people didn't actually check the facts. So we're going to watch this video at the end, and if you don't want to watch it, that's great, but I'm going to watch it, and then I'm going to decide, is that a fair characterization? Because I actually do like your way of thinking. If you're watching this, I really do appreciate this comment. This is the kind of dialogue that I like to have, and that's why one of the reasons I made this channel. So with that long introduction, let's talk about, in my view, why was Jimmy Kimmel fired? We have this Deadline story. Jimmy Kimmel pulled indefinitely by ABC after Charlie Kirk comments. And I haven't read this, but I will. But even without reading this, I'm going to tell you why he got fired. This is not about free speech, folks. This is not about MAGA and Charlie Kirk and all that. I used to work in the corporate world before I retired. And when I was in business school, they taught us about this thing. And it was about costs and benefits. ABC and Disney are for-profit companies. They're there to make money. And when the costs outweigh the benefits, you are no longer making money. And that's why he was fired, 100%. Jimmy Kimmel could have said anything he wanted, and he did for years. He did for like 20 years, no problem, because he was making money. But he wasn't making money anymore. I looked it up, and I said, let me do a comparison. I have this hypothesis that Jimmy Kimmel wasn't making money. So how much money was he making? And so what I found was currently he's getting about 1 million to 1.3 million viewers. And I'm not doing pretty graphs and all that. He had 1 to 1.3 million viewers. It was estimated that he was making in his last season, he was making $3 to $7 million in profit for the season. So really, you got to ask yourself, how much money does ABC want to make in that time slot? For comparison, I pulled Johnny Carson's Tonight Show numbers because I think that's a comparable show. They're two comedians doing a chat show, just like Graham Norton, just like Colbert. Same kind of thing. Johnny Carson in his last season had 6.5 million viewers. Jimmy Kimmel had 1. Profit. Jimmy Kimmel's show was way more expensive to produce. He was making $3 to $7 million in profit. What I found was adjusted profits in the last seasons for Johnny Carson were somewhere on the order of $200 to $300 million adjusted to 2025 dollars. So Carson was making a hell of a lot more profit than Kimmel. When you're making that kind of money, you can say whatever you want. Colbert recently got canceled, and it was leaked out that his show was losing $40 million. So what I think is really going on here is America's changed. Back in the days of Johnny Carson, we were a smaller country, but still he had a lot more viewers. Why was that? Because people didn't have options. People would get home from a long day at work and turn on the TV, and just before bed, they would watch The Late Show or The Tonight Show or the whatever. People don't do that anymore. Now they got their screens. They're watching all kinds of stuff. And on top of that, Johnny Carson was funny. And I can find clips where Johnny Carson said, hey, don't piss off half the audience. And you know what? For at least since Trump's been in office, all of these late night talk show hosts have been pissing off half of the country. Agree with it, disagree with it, whatever you like, but half of the country don't like what they're saying. So that turns into why Colbert was losing $40 million. Nobody was watching him. And that's why Jimmy Kimmel was only making $3 to $7 million because nobody was watching him. If you're a for-profit company, do you really want to only service half of the country? I don't know how much money ABC wanted to make off of Kimmel, but they weren't making it. And so I think they wanted an off-ramp with Kimmel because they saw that these shows just aren't profitable anymore. This was their excuse. So that's the real reason he was fired. Right there. That's it. It's that simple. We can end right now. You guys can all go away. And tell me if I'm wrong in the comments. But that's the kind of stuff I learned in business school. Now let's talk about these stories. Now I'm going to dive into the MAGA angle on it because it is fair that that's where some of the costs are coming from. But again, the bottom line is you got to make money. Jimmy Kimmel pulled indefinitely by ABC after Charlie Kirk comments. There will be no more Jimmy Kimmel on TV for the foreseeable future after the late night host offered his take on the reaction to the fatal shooting of Charlie Kirk. Jimmy Kimmel Live will be preempted indefinitely, an ABC spokesperson told Deadline today. Following the FCC chair weighing in earlier Wednesday, the stunning sudden dropping of Kimmel comes mere minutes after Nexstar axed his late night show on 32 ABC affiliates it owns in about 200 stations nationwide. So there we go. I already told you guys he had bad ratings, right? Now the FCC comes out and threatens ABC and Disney and Kimmel. So 100% there was a threat there. Nexstar just took him off the air. He now just got taken off 200 stations. That's ratings, folks. That's ad revenue that they're no longer getting. Nexstar owned and partner television stations affiliated with the ABC television network will preempt Jimmy Kimmel Live for the foreseeable future, beginning with tonight's show, said the company in a statement on Wednesday. Nexstar strongly objects to recent comments by Mr. Kimmel concerning the killing of Charlie Kirk and will replace the show with other programming in its ABC affiliate markets. So I want to read that again. Nexstar strongly objects to recent comments. For people that are in the Blue Star bubble, you aren't hearing still that most of the country is not happy that Charlie Kirk was murdered, and then people are celebrating it, and people are doing the what-isms and trying to minimize and normalize his death. We don't like it. And when I say we're most of the country. I would say 80 to 90% of the country is not happy with this kind of speech. And so, yeah, people get free speech, but speech has consequences. Nexstar doesn't have to let Jimmy Kimmel play on their network because they don't like his speech. This isn't free speech. For people that talk about free speech, you should go back and look at the Constitution. The First Amendment is what we're talking about. And I'm going to paraphrase here, but I believe it says something like, Congress shall make no law abridging speech, religion, or freedom of assembly. It's something like that. Congress. Nexstar can fire you all day long. ABC can fire you all day long. People out in the public square can shame you and say, we don't like that speech. Don't say that. It's exactly the same as saying the N-word. We're not allowed to say that because in polite society, that's not tolerated. The what-isms and the celebration are just not being tolerated anymore. And if you think that's hypocrisy, so be it. But the left has been doing this for years. Lots of people have been fired because they misgendered someone. Lots of people got fired because they went against COVID orthodoxy. There is no moral high ground in any way that can justify murder. If you're cheering this on, if you're minimizing it, then you're supporting gun violence. Think about that for a second. That's why all this is happening. Known for his Prove Me Wrong debates, the MAGA point of view activist Kirk was shot dead at a Utah Valley University on September 10th in a tragedy that has sent shock through the political media worlds. Having previously mocked Donald Trump over POTUS's takes on the NFL, TikTok, Kimmel offered his blunt assessment of the aftermath of Kirk's death in his opening monologue on his September 15th show. We hit some new lows over the weekend with MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points. With the Charlie Kirk section and Kimmel on 4-year-old Trump's reaction starting at the 2-minute point. All right, so I've taken a look at this video. This is a later video. If you guys want to watch it, just go back in the link and watch it. It's basically Kimmel bashing Trump after the monologue that's got him into trouble. So I'm not going to watch this video. I don't believe this is his actual monologue that got him into trouble. This is another clip. You guys can go watch it later. I'm going to watch the actual monologue later. Reps for Kimmel did not respond to Deadline's request for comment on the shuttering of Live. Whether this is a suspension that sees Kimmel back on late night eventually, or ABC with possible legal action, if this is the end of the Hollywood Boulevard filmed, Live remains to be seen. Oh, it's done. Kimmel won't be back. Tell me I'm wrong. He's not going to be back. You don't get over this. What is known is that Kimmel's September 15th remarks on Kirk's death were actually not the first time the ABC host spoke of terrible shooting and its impact on the country. Instead of the angry finger pointing, can we just for one day agree it's horrible, monstrous to shoot another human being on behalf of family? We send love to the Kirks and to all the children, parents, and innocents who fall victim to senseless gun violence, Kimmel wrote on Instagram, just hours after the fatal shooting. Yeah, I'm glad he said that. I wish he would have put that in his monologue. We've seen other celebrities canceled. Griffin here thought it would be funny to chop off a Trump effigy head and stand up. People didn't like it. She was a CNN contributor. They decided she wasn't making enough money, so they fired her. Easy peasy. There's a little more to the story than ABC firing. The real problem, again, is ratings. They talked a little bit about one of the affiliates, but there's a second affiliate. Sinclair also took him off the air. So it wasn't just Nexstar. So now you've got the two biggest ABC affiliates just canned him. And I'm not going to read this whole story, but I'll link it. Local giant Sinclair demands Jimmy Kimmel make a direct apology to Charlie Kirk's family and donate to TPUSA. They're even more mad than Nexstar. And I want to show you this. This is Sinclair's statement. Sinclair, the nation's largest ABC affiliate group, objects to recent comments made by Mr. Kimmel concerning the assassination. As discussed with ABC earlier, Sinclair decided to indefinitely preempt Jimmy Kimmel Live. Mr. Kimmel's remarks were inappropriate and deeply insensitive at a critical moment for our country, said Vice Chairman Jason Smith. We believe broadcasters have a responsibility to educate and elevate respectful, constructive dialogue in our communities. We appreciate FCC Chairman Carr's remarks today, and this incident highlights the critical need for the FCC to take immediate regulatory action to address control held over local broadcasters by big national networks. Sinclair's ABC stations will air a special remembrance of Charlie Kirk this Friday during Jimmy Kimmel's Live's time slot. The special will also air across all Sinclair stations this weekend. In addition, Sinclair is offering the special to all ABC affiliates across the country. Sinclair will not lift the suspension on Jimmy Kimmel Live on our stations until formal discussions are held with ABC regarding the network's commitment to professionalism and accountability. Sinclair also calls upon Mr. Kimmel to issue a direct apology to Kirk's family. Furthermore, we asked Mr. Kimmel to make a meaningful personal donation to the Kirk family and Turning Point USA. Regardless of ABC's plans for the future of the program, Sinclair intends not to return Jimmy Kimmel Live to our air until we are confident the appropriate steps have been taken to uphold standards. So now you've got Nexstar and Sinclair. These are the number one and number two affiliates of ABC in America. That's somewhere around half of all ABC stations. This is now off the air. And who knows, more might have been about to cancel if ABC hadn't pulled the show themselves. So again, this is all about money. You got a show that's already only making $3 to $7 million. If you just lost half your potential audience, you're now losing money. 100%, you're losing money. Even if the people on the other 50% keep watching, you're losing money if you just lost half your advertising on these, because there's no eyeballs to watch them. So it's all about money, guys. And Sinclair is pissed, and Nexstar is pissed. How many more are pissed? And remember, these are all the ABC affiliates. If they really get pissed, they might start pulling more shows. ABC had to do what they did. It's a business decision. I'm just going to show this one really fast. I'm not going to read this whole story because this is already a long episode. Here's the real reason ABC has suspended Jimmy Kimmel Live. Jimmy Kimmel's comments on the murder of conservative activist Charlie Kirk weren't just noxiously offensive and seemingly misleading. Their timing was also incredibly bad. They threatened to derail Nexstar's $6.2 billion takeover of rival broadcaster Tegna, telecom insiders tell On the Money. The already controversial deal, which would combine two of the nation's largest owners of local TV stations, poses a significant antitrust question and needs a close review by the FCC and its conservative firebrand chairman, Brendan Carr. So here we go. Again, it's all about the money, guys. Nexstar is about to do this deal to take over Tegna. They need Brendan Carr and the FCC to approve it. And even if the FCC slow rolls it, it's going to cost Nexstar a lot of money. And they want this deal to go through as quickly as possible. This is all about the money. All right, so with that, I think I've made it clear what I think of all of this. I'm going to show you guys two more videos. Okay, this one's the most important. And then I'm going to address those comments that came up. And maybe I'll address those comments as the next video is going. This piece here, ABC removed the second clip that I have of his monologue because they didn't want people seeing it because it was so bad. So I just made this simple, funny one where I have Ricky Gervais laughing at him. I didn't put any audio in that part. And I found that Facebook was actually censoring this. I can't post this video on Facebook, so the platforms are hiding some of this information from us. So let's watch. I've been told he was just telling jokes. So you know what? I think while we're doing this, I want to come back and look at the questions my commenters pose, and I'm going to address those through these next two videos. So let's just do a review. What did they say, right? Where's the misinformation? You don't see what's going on. The whole Trump government is blaming the left without proof or evidence. Now he's making Antifa a terrorist organization. And I'm just going and paraphrasing it real quick. You guys can read it. But the engraved bullet thing, we don't actually understand it. And we don't have any freedom of speech, but his actual text is there. And then my favorite comment, where he gives us the example and says, basically cut to the chase. We have insufficient information. He was doing a fair characterization that it was the MAGA gang. Where was the outrage when the right was blaming the left with insufficient evidence? And I think those are fair points. So let's watch it.
He had some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House.
That's the important part. Okay, so this really addresses that there's no information at all in MAGA folks. But I did a video on this, and he says that there's no information the MAGA gang trying to characterize. I'm just going to quickly mention the information that has been released by the police, not the MAGA gang and the FBI. So to believe that there's a big conspiracy theory here, then all of them are lying. Okay, but I'm still going to say what's been released. We've captured a 22-year-old Utah man from a very conservative household. His parents and most of his family are definitely MAGA. What's been reported is that at this point, his mother saw a picture of the shooter and said, "I think that's my son," and tried to call him, and he didn't answer. His grandfather said, "That kind of looks like my old rifle. Doesn't my grandson have that rifle? Where is that rifle?" So dad contacts him and says, "Hey, can you send me a picture of the rifle?" Grandpa's wondering about it. We found the rifle. We found bullet casings. It had some memes written on them related to some video games. But there was some anti-fascist writing because it said, "Catch this fascist." So to me, that is related to Antifa. By definition, Antifa is anti-fascist. And how did we get most of this information that other than the gun and a little bit of video of him escaping? Got a lot of this from texts that his boyfriend has given, and his boyfriend has been identified as a person that is transitioning from male to female. And there are pictures out there that have circulated on the internet of this person wearing pride flags, the shooter. And if you look at the texts and the emails, they're all very, "I did this because I hated Charlie Kirk," basically because of trans ideology and probably his racism and Charlie Kirk's other stuff. And so when people say we don't know why this happened or we don't have sufficient information, I'm just going to give you the information that we actually have. And at this point with that information, I think a fair conclusion is this was a crazy person who was radicalized by Antifa and probably trans ideology, since he's living with a trans woman or a man transitioning into a trans woman. So I think that's a mischaracterization that MAGA is just kind of trying to blame this all on the left. This person was clearly on the left. I mean, unless you think with all those facts, this person was still on the right. I'm sorry, the probability of that, it's probably not zero, but it's close to it. And so in the comments, I've been told that, hey, we have insufficient information. That's all Jimmy Kimmel was trying to say. And he was telling jokes. He's a comedian. Doesn't he have free speech? This is just MAGA pointing fingers with insufficient information. And again, it's jokes. He's a comedian. So let's watch this. And I want you guys make up your own mind. Was this jokes? I'm going to watch it and we're going to see. Because see, I don't believe without seeing it, if people just say all Jimmy Kimmel did was jokes, did you watch it? Let's watch it.
The second largest city in our bitterly divided nation, where, like the rest of the country, we're still trying to wrap our heads around the senseless murder of the popular podcaster and conservative activist Charlie Kirk yesterday, whose death has amplified our anger, our differences. And I've seen a lot of extraordinarily vile responses to this from both sides of the political spectrum. Some people are cheering this, which is something I won't ever understand.
So the both sides just annoys us. It's what if-isms. There is no comparison, guy. He was murdered. We all watched it. And I think that's the big difference. We all watched it. And with the Melissa Hortman, I didn't see a large proportion of the country cheering it on and doing hateful things. And you talk about all the people getting fired. They should be fired. I'll tell you why. I'll just pick out one of the most egregious examples. There was a teacher of 10-year-olds in Canada who talked to his students about the murder and said how it was a good thing because the guy was a bad person, a racist and whatever. And then he showed the video to his kids in his class. Do you want your 10-year-olds to watch that video? Really? So this is the type of insanity that we're watching. I'm on the record. If you are celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk, I don't want you teaching my children. I don't want you treating my father in the elderly home if he was in there. He actually lives with me. I don't want you treating me in the hospital. Are you going to kill me next if you're cheering it on? You are a bad person. I don't want you indoctrinating my kids if you were a professor in a college. So that's why we're firing people. We're not firing people for free speech. We're firing them because they're celebrating a school shooting. And we're firing them because we don't feel that that is something we want to hear in the public square. Celebration of people being murdered. You have your free speech. Your free speech has consequences. So let's go on.
We had another school shooting yesterday in Colorado.
So the school shooting in Colorado where the 3 children were shot, horrible. It's not the same thing. It's horrible. Nobody's cheering that. People are cheering the death of Charlie Kirk.
100th one of the year. And with all these terrible things happening, you would think that our president will at least make an attempt to bring us together. But he didn't. President Obama did.
Trump's an ass. I'll leave Obama's note up for a minute so you guys can read it. And I agree, Trump is an ass, but Obama then went on an interview and said it was all Trump's fault. He's not doing anything to calm this thing down either.
Obama did. President Biden.
That was a nice statement by Biden.
Did. Presidents Bush and.
Here's a statement by President Bush. Thank you. All good statements.
Clinton did.
Here's Clinton's statement. These are all good statements.
Trump did not. Instead, he blamed Democrats for their rhetoric. The man who told a crowd of supporters that maybe the Second Amendment people should do something about Hillary Clinton. The man who said he wouldn't mind if someone shot through the fake news media. The man who unleashed a mob on the Capitol and said Liz Cheney should face 9-barrel shooting at her.
He doesn't talk about, we've had like 15 years of people saying Trump and his supporters were Nazis. Those are the worst people in the world. We fought a world war to get rid of them. And so if you call somebody a Nazi, they're going to call you names back. And then if you call somebody a Nazi for long enough, some crazy person will believe you, get radicalized, and do the country a favor by shooting him. And that's exactly what Democrat leadership has done. Jimmy, let's not leave that part out.
For supporting his opponent, blames the radical left for their rhetoric. And then the man who on 9/11, 2001, bragged that his building was now the tallest building in New York, which wasn't even true, by the way, visited the Pentagon for a 9/11 memorial, which, believe it or not, he made a bigly improvement over last year when he showed up at a 9/11 remembrance at a fire station in Lower Manhattan with a 9/11 conspiracy theorist who claims it was an inside job. This year, he brought his wife, which was better for sure. And I have to say, I don't know what's going on, but those two lovebirds, they seem to be closer than.
And so everything we've just heard, that wasn't a joke, guys. If you hear a joke there, we're hearing different things. That he made a political statement attacking Trump. Now, what he'll do is he'll throw in a couple of jokes here and there. But most of this has just been an attack on Trump. Tell me I'm wrong.
Never. I mean, if you see during the ceremony.
Yeah, so he's doing a joke now. But the stuff we just heard before that was not a joke after he stopped talking about the condolences.
In a tender moment, Donald reaches over and gives her a little tap. Like he taps her like he's hoping ketchup would come out. And she didn't really respond. Maybe that's their signal for my diaper is full. I don't know. And then it was often.
Yeah, remember when people said that kind of stuff about Biden? Oh my God, it's horrible. How can you say bad things about the elderly? And these are jokes, but these are mean-spirited, not funny jokes, guys. Sorry. If these are the kind of jokes he tells, he should be canceled because he's not funny.
New York for a Yankees game. Slow DiMaggio made an appearance at Yankee Stadium after an appearance last week at the U.S. Open. It's all part of his Getting Booed in Public tour. Former Mayor Rudy Giuliani was supposed to go to the Yankee game with him to sit with the president, but he accidentally showed up at a Yankee candle.
All right, so I think we've had enough. I'm not going to play the rest just because this is a long video. You guys know what I think. This was all about money. He got fired because he wasn't making money. And this whole thing wasn't funny. It was a diatribe against Trump, and it was misinformation that it was a MAGA shooter, and MAGA's trying not to get us to believe it. The facts don't point towards a MAGA shooter. In point one, where is the misinformation? The misinformation is you're ignoring that Tyler Robinson was living with a trans woman, had Antifa stuff written on his bullets, went to gay pride parades. His whole family said he was super liberal and mad at Charlie Kirk, and all the text messages. Saying he was MAGA or a Republican is 100% misinformation. And that's what Jimmy Kimmel did there. And then the blaming the left, I think I've given enough proof at this point, just looking at what the authorities have released. And I know if you believe it's all a big conspiracy theory and it's all too neat and the texts are all scripted. I've even seen people on the right saying that it's all too easy and it's a big conspiracy theory. No, both sides are just doing this for clicks. They're all trying to make money. This is that simple. I like Occam's razor. The simplest solution is probably correct, as a paraphrase. The simple solution is a lunatic got radicalized and then he listened to all this Hitler speech, and he decided to take out Hitler. It's that easy, guys. And yes, he was a leftist. You guys just need to embrace it. He was a leftist. Then we can move on from this. What's keeping this going is people won't embrace it. And so the last commenter, like I said, this was my favorite one. We don't have enough information. I agree. We still don't have enough information. We do need to wait for the full investigation. We do need to wait for Tyler to get his day in court and get all the information out there to make a fully informed decision of what's going on. But based on the information that's out there, he did it. He's on the left. And we just need to stop pointing fingers back at MAGA and Republicans and just recognize people are mad right now and they need a little time to calm down. All right, guys, this was a long one. Let me know what you think. What else did I get wrong here? I'm sure I got things wrong, and I'll try to address them if you guys let me know. But you do give me good arguments or give me links. I appreciate it. I do really think about it. And sometimes you can change my mind. All right, if you like this, like and subscribe. If you don't like it, don't watch me. Thanks. Bye.